As we heard earlier from the LSU Ag Center, food prices are on the rise. Last week, Neil Melancon told us about the Farm Bureau survey that showed 10% higher food costs than this time last year. Neil joins us with this week's Bottom Line. And Neil, what exactly is driving up the price of food right now?
Well, Mike, there's really two broad categories of factors that are driving food prices right now. The first is actual cost, such as the price of oil that's been going up lately that factors into the packaging and transportation of food. The other is artificial, which is really what has been sending the price of food soaring here lately. We've seen the cost of raw commodity prices go up, and as they're higher than they were in 2008 when we saw record prices. Back then, though, the cost at the grocery store didn't move much, unlike what we're seeing today. In 2008, the prices didn't move because even though corn prices skyrocketed, for example, the cost of it was already budgeted into food processors and the like. Now, today, commodity prices are jumping up, but along with it, the oil prices are going higher, as is the cost for everything else. In addition, shortfalls in production in places like Australia, Europe, and China is causing an increase in demand at the local level, and this is hitting particularly hard in the developing world. So-called Agflation, the elevation in price for food, has prompted much of the unrest in the Middle East here. And while groceries are just one factor among many in the complex region, it is the straw that broke the camel's back, if you'll pardon the pun. Now, the bottom line here is that we're not only facing higher prices for food now, but there's little relief in sight for those prices. The various commodities will be battling each other for land this spring, which means that we will not likely produce enough supply to meet the demand it would take to lower prices. At least not this year, especially if we have a weather event like the rest of the world seems to be having. The good news is that American farmers are finally having some sustained prosperity, and that's helping our rural economy gain some much-needed ground, Mike, after years of lowered prices and lowered expectations.
And Neil, you touched on it earlier. Certainly the commodity markets are going to be keeping a close eye on what's going on in Egypt. Neil Melancon, thanks. And remember, you can listen to any of Neil's reports on the Louisiana Farm Bureau radio network. For a list of stations where you can tune in, click on over to our website, twilatv.org, and look for the link called LFB Radio Network on the left side of the home page. That does it for this edition of This Week in Louisiana Agriculture. Join us again next week when we'll get an update on this year's strawberry crop. Until then, you can watch any of our stories online on our website. You know the address, twilatv.org. For all of us here at This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, I'm Michael Danham. Thanks so much for joining us, everybody. Hope to see you again right here next week.